Is something going to happen to the heart? Should you look at the EKG rhythm? You hold your breath. Don't let that moment define your identity. And that's the biggest thing that I can tell you. All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of NurseConverse. I'm your host, Wali Khan. It has been a long time since we've gotten on here and had a real honest conversation. So I said, why not start with something that so many of us actually have gone through, but we pretend like we haven't. And that is failing the NCLEX, the board certification exam that you need to take to become a registered nurse in the United States. But before I continue, I'm your host, Wali Khan, a certified registered nurse anesthetist, and we will be having an honest conversation about what happens when you don't see the pass on your screen once you've taken the test. Is it over? Are you dumb? Are you the most unintelligent person to have ever gone to nursing school and that's the end of your career before it even began? No, that's not it. So let me take you back. I, sitting here today, almost 12 years after the fact, did not pass the NCLEX. Not just once, not twice, not even 3 times. Yeah. I mean, just pause right there. What does that make you think? Man, I'm listening to a guy who did not pass his NCLEX 3 times. Right there, I just lost all street credibility, right? You don't want to listen to me anymore. I don't have anything to say that can benefit you because, well, I'm not cut out for it. Or at least that's what I thought. That's what other people think when they hear the story or just this portion of the story. But I did pass on the 4th try. But that's not all. During the time back in 2014, I was dealing with a plethora of things in my life. The first of it being a chronic condition from a injury that I had sustained when I was younger in my lower back, requiring 2 spinal surgeries, one of which failed and almost paralyzed me. And the second one was an emergent surgery that I had to get. And during this time, I was on a concoction of pain medications. And to put it very bluntly, it was like I was high all the time. I was taking pain medications, I was taking muscle relaxers, I was taking benzodiazepines, all these things that the doctors had prescribed me to numb the pain because it was so severe. This is the portion of my life where I was actually trying to study for the NCLEX and try to pass. Now you can imagine all of those medications and trying to study, it wasn't a good combination. Even after I passed, things didn't get better. I was unable to work because nobody wanted to hire me. And it wasn't because I had failed the NCLEX, because guess what? Nobody cares. All they want to see is that you actually have a license. They want to see that you got the green check mark. What they want is experience. And it's such a double-edged oxymoronic sword is they want experience to hire you, but nobody wants to hire you because you're a new graduate. So it's just this vicious circle that just keeps going. So there I was with my brand new license that I got on the 4th try, unable to get a job. So there I was driving an Uber. Yes, I was driving strangers around in downtown Chicago in the middle of the night, trying to put food on the table for my family, and I was a registered nurse. So where does that leave you? I thought that the doors would fly open for me, but I was unemployed for a year. But let me tell you something right now. It's all about timing. It's about timing and it's about forbearance. And what's meant for you is already written, and you just have to keep turning the pages of the book. See, that's what people don't understand. People live in the now and here, but they're not able to see what's going to happen a year from now, or 5 years from now, 10 years from now. There's a very interesting quote that I read many, many years ago. And it said, we underestimate what we can do in 1 year and overestimate what we can do in 10. It's all about longevity. It's all about planning. So let's start here. First, if you are somebody that has failed the NCLEX and were not able to pass on your 1st try or your 2nd try or your subsequent try, you're allowed to be upset. You're allowed to feel discouraged, but don't let that moment define your identity. And that's the biggest thing that I can tell you. You are not a failure. You're not. You have momentarily experienced a setback, and that's all it is. You're not less than. You're simply in the middle of a powerful comeback. And I know how heavy this feels. Trust me, I've been there. And I can say that and mean it because I was deep down on the 4th level of the trench. I wasn't even in the trench. I was like multiple levels down. So I've been there. I've cried. I've shed tears because you know what? It feels like your life is over. I'm not going to be able to feed my family. All those years of going to school were for nothing. Yada, 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 yada. I've questioned the same things. But listen, you are still called. You're still capable. You're still chosen for this path. So what do? First, acknowledge your emotions. You can't be in denial, because when we see the fail on the screen or did not pass or whatever, you can't be like, okay, now I'm going to be self isolating. That's not how it works. After you acknowledge your feelings, man, take a moment to perhaps write it down. Not on social media, don't go make a caption or a story, but like maybe in a journal or a notepad. Let it out. Describe what you're feeling and then maybe come back to it and read it. Don't isolate yourself. If you've got a crew, if you've got a friend, if you've got a therapist, if you have a parent, if you have a significant other that you can really trust and be vulnerable with, talk to them. You don't have to deal with this alone. Just like any other thing that you would go through in your life. If you were getting divorced, if you were filing for bankruptcy, if you were having to foreclose on a home, whatever the case may be, this is just another incident in life. Talk to a mentor, a peer group. Third, protect your peace. I'm going to say this one more time. Protect your peace and avoid negativity, especially the one that you find online. You can literally do anything, good or bad, and you will find critics that will either make you feel that you are the best person to walk the face of this earth, and in the same moment, you will find people that will make it feel like you don't deserve to live, that you're a burden to society. And that's not the truth. You don't have to rush to social media to get answers. You don't have to hop on a blog or do an Instagram live or share anything with anyone. It's no one's business except yours. And I can't say this again and again. You have to protect your peace. You need encouragement. You don't need comparisons. You don't need to talk to people that, passed in 70 questions or 100 questions, because that's what we do as nursing students. And if I can think back, the big thing was, oh, I passed the NCLEX in only 70 questions. Congratulations. It's an adaptive exam and it's different for everyone. And just because you didn't pass in 70 or 100 or 150, whatever the case may be, or you didn't pass at all, who cares? Who are you comparing yourself to and why? You're not even going to work in the same place, the same institution, the same unit as the people that you're comparing yourself to. And honestly, thinking back now, you will probably keep in touch with one, two, maybe three people from your cohort with who you're graduating with. So it doesn't even matter what anyone has to say or think. Now, let's talk about stress reduction. What does it mean to be mindful of yourself after experiencing this catastrophic, momentous decline in your educational career? Not passing the board exam to become a registered nurse, the very thing that you dedicated the last 4 years of your life to, you didn't get it on the first try. When I was trying to pass on the fourth time, I had to literally learn how to study without stress eating me alive, because there was always that, well, what if you fail again? That was the first time. What if you fail again? Second time. What if you fail again? Third time. And I was dealing with that chronic pain, just pain that wouldn't go away. And so there was physical pain, there was emotional pain, there was embarrassment, there was so much insecurity now. Was I really cut out for this? My best friend actually told me and was like, hey, Wally, maybe you should consider another career. Maybe, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, maybe nursing isn't for you. And this is a person that loved me dearly and cared about me and didn't want to see me go through the same thing over and over again. But I had to be honest with myself and tell myself, no, I can do this. This does not define me. I can do this. I know deep within my soul that if I was not on all these medications, if I was not going through a health crisis, I know I'm capable. But in that moment, I couldn't see past what was in front of me. And so here's what helped me. Number one, I practiced breathing. One of the things that we forget to do when we're under stress, like heavy, heavy stress, is we forget to breathe. When you're somebody who doesn't know how to swim and you are submerged underwater, you hold your breath. And by holding your breath, you begin to panic. And when you panic, you lose all control and you just keep going down. Pause and just breathe. What's my next step? What do I do? Every morning when you wake up, clear your head, remember your focus, remember your purpose. I need to pass an exam. It is important for me. I need to pass this exam because I need to be able to provide for my family. It shouldn't be a crushing realization, but it should be a motivating factor for you to never, ever give up. That's where it comes down to. And then also unplug yourself every night, 30 minutes before you go to bed, maybe 60 minutes. No social media, no TV, just silence. If you need to pray, pray. If you need to read, read. If you need to just sit in a dark room and breathe, do that. If you need to go outside and take a walk without your phone, do that. And stop treating rest like a reward. It's not a reward, right? It's not something you earn. It's something you need as a human being. It's something that you need to function psychologically, to repair yourself emotionally and mentally and spiritually, and most important, physically. And start treating rest like a requirement. Listen to your nervous system. Okay, now that we've gotten this segment out of the way about taking care of your psyche, let's talk strategy. How do you study after you gotten the F? You know, after you gotten fail after fail after fail, or maybe this was the first time that you failed the NCLEX. What now? How do you go back to the drawing board, right? How does coach tell you to revise the game plan? What are we going to do? Because like me, you probably studied hard, right? You're not a, nincompoop that was just cruising through nursing school and have no idea how to study. I mean, we had a few of those in our classes that just kind of showed up and did our thing, but not you, right? You studied, you cared because you want to take care of human beings. You don't take it for granted that you've been given this privilege to be at the bedside. So here's what changed the game for me. Number one, you need to diversify how you're studying. If something doesn't work, for example, the first time I took the exam, I studied with a course called Hearst. And I did my revision with Hearst as well, and I didn't pass. And I realized that Hearst was focusing more on content for me, and I was very good at that. I understood concepts, but what I needed more was application and question banks. So then I switched over to Kaplan. And back when I was studying, Kaplan was very beneficial for me. The screen looked exactly like the NCLEX, and the question timer was like that. The rationales were very important. And so I switched my strategy up, but I didn't just click through the questions. I studied those rationales. And I'll give you an example. It's really good that you know your electrolyte values. It's really good that you know that normal physiological potassium is 3.5 to 5.0. It's really important that you know that in the textbook it says that BUN is 10 to 20, or your sodium is 135 to 145. Your pH is 7.35 to 7.45. But you have no idea what happens if that pH is 7.1. What begins to happen? What is it called? Is it metabolic acidosis? Is it respiratory acidosis? How do you compensate? Does the body compensate? Should you give bicarb? Should you not give bicarb? Should you hyperventilate the patient? Should you not hyperventilate the patient, right? What happens if the potassium is 6? Is something going to happen to the heart? Should you look at the EKG rhythm? Are there changes? Is there peak T waves? Like all of these things go beyond just rote memorization. That's where the application comes into play. And that's what you have to understand. It's paying attention to why you're studying what you're studying, why you're memorizing what you're memorizing. And then when you're taking these practice questions and you're getting them wrong, understanding that, hey, I got this question wrong because I didn't understand what happens after the fact. You need to understand why you got things right as well. Oh, I got this question right. I'm going to go past it. That's not the point. Why did you get it right? Is the rationale supporting what you believe in your mind, what the textbooks have said, what your notes have said? You have to understand both the right and the wrong. Now, you also need to, number two, create a calendar. And each day needs to be a system. When you're panic studying, it could be because you were cramming or because you failed and you're like, what do I do now? I'm a failure. I'm a loser. I need to study everything. Nah, it doesn't work that way. Every single day, week by week, month by month, however many, days out your exam is scheduled, you need to have a systematic breakdown. For example, cardio Monday, OB Tuesday, Neuro Wednesday. It can't be all over the place. You can't just be like, I'm gonna try to memorize everything and then I'm gonna go take the exam. No, there has to be a systematic approach to what you're doing and then taking questions in accordance to how you're studying that particular unit. Number three, a method that really works, even when I went to grad school and got my doctorate and graduated from CRNA school, teach back method. I would literally talk out loud to myself. I'd talk to my cats. I had 5 of them in nursing school. If I couldn't explain the topic like I was teaching it, I went back and reviewed it. Like, for example, I can spit facts at you. I can tell you everything there is to know about, hemodynamics or fluid and electrolyte imbalances or the oncotic pressure and the capillary pressure and blah, 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 blah. The list goes on. If I cannot do that the way that I understood it myself, if I can't explain it to somebody, who has never heard of what capillary membrane pressure is, what the concept of albumin is, what is RBC, what do red blood cells do? What is plasma cell concentration? Why do we give FFPs? What is blood made of? What are the components of it? When should each of those things be given? Why is cryo used? If I can't explain that, then I don't understand it. Plain and simple. There's no, it's black and white. And you should be able to teach back because it is solidified in your mind. That's why our teachers are so good. That's why they're our teachers. They understand a concept. The good teachers, they can simplify it to a human level, even though it's a complicated concept, but then you understand it. And then lastly, the fourth thing, I did timed tests, full blocks, quiet room, no breaks. Exactly if it was test day. Have a coffee in the morning, time your urine. All right, if I drink a cup of coffee in 2.5 hours, I'm gonna have to go take a pee break. If I take a pee break, that's gonna distract me or it's gonna allow me to walk around and it will be beneficial for me. You decide, but it needs to be an environment like it would be if you were taking a test at a testing center. So trained your brain to be able to handle a test every single day, whether it's 2 hours, whether it's 3 hours, whether it's 4 hours. I was the guy that took the full 4 hours on my NCLEX. I got every single question, and I don't remember how many questions there are because it's been so long. I think it was 175 or 180. Whatever the max question is, that's what I got. Every single time that I took the test, I got the max amount of questions. So I had to be in it for the long haul. I mean, we're running a marathon every single time, and your brain and your body cannot tap out on mile 20. It can't tap out on mile 18. We're going 26.2 miles, the full distance of the NCLEX marathon, and you need to be psychologically, mentally, physically, emotionally ready to be able to run this race. Okay? Ain't no stopping midway. We're not doing a half marathon. We're doing the whole thing. So I want you to remember this. You're not starting from scratch. Just because you failed, you're not starting from scratch. You are starting from experience. You've been to the testing center. You know what those nerves feel like. You know that anxiety. Get to the point in your mind, in your brain, where you embrace it now. Yes, I fell short, but it's not over. It's not over. It's simply not. I'm going to take it again. This test doesn't define me. I define myself. I have the work ethic. I have the grit. I have the resilience. I have the willpower. I've invested my time. I've invested my money. I'm here. And there's simply no way I'm going to crawl and roll over and just be forgotten about. That's the mindset that you need to have. Now let's talk about, I like this segment, right? When I was thinking about how to approach this, I said, what would Kobe do? Right. And I look up to Kobe, right? RIP. Kobe is my guy. It's my inspiration, my motivation for so much of what I do. But we're going to call it, instead of the Mamba mentality, we're going to call it the comeback mentality. And here's what they don't tell you. The struggle builds the skill set. Let me repeat that one more time. The struggle builds the skill set. When I was in CRNA school, every single time that I struggled with intubating somebody, I learned something new. I learned to refine my technique a little bit more. I learned to view the chords a little bit better. I learned to manipulate the blade a little bit better and to position the head a little bit better and to properly position the patient. Every time I learned something new. And yeah, it sucks going from a mannequin to intubating a real patient, but the skill set that you get after you've done 1,000 of those intubations is so sweet. But the struggle is necessary. The setback, that's the part that molds your mindset. So the struggle builds the skill set, and the setback is what molds your mindset. Do you know how many patients I've connected with because I know what pain feels like? Do you understand that? I worked 5 years in a trauma ICU at Cook County Hospital in downtown Chicago, and I saw so many people at the cusp of death and people that passed away in my arms, and I had to speak to their families. I mean, I know and understand what pain looks like and feels like and sounds like and smells like. Do you know how many students I've been able to inspire because I didn't pass on the first try. I mean, the reason we're even having this conversation today, the reason I even have something to share with you and say to you is because it happened to me. And if that was the why, if I was to sit and ask God, why me, God? Why did it happen to me? Perhaps the reason we're having this conversation is enough of a reason. Because hundreds, thousands, or maybe just one person will watch this podcast and say, you know what? I'm gonna put my big boy pants on and I'm gonna grab myself by the bootstraps, as they say, or my big girl pants, and I'm gonna go try again. And I'm gonna study harder and I'm gonna study smarter and I'm gonna come back and I'm going to pursue my dreams. So do not hang your head in shame. Stand tall in your process. I cannot emphasize or overemphasize this enough. Stand tall. Sit up, shoulders back, head up, and breathe. Your journey is different, and that difference is what will make you an unforgettable nurse. That's it. Because every single patient that you meet is going to have a different story. They're going to have a different disease process, a different diagnosis. They're going to have different needs and wants, and you will have to cater to every single one. And that's the beautiful thing. Every nurse is different. That's why there's so many specialties in our profession. A pediatric nurse is very special, and they're very different from an operating room nurse. And a cath lab nurse is very different from an ICU nurse. And an OBGYN nurse, a mother baby nurse, is very different from a burn ICU nurse. Like every nurse, male or female, has a special, unique skill and personality and heart and empathy and compassion that they bring to the bedside. And you will never know yours if you write yourself off because no one else is. I want you to leave with this today. You didn't fail. You're just in the waiting room for your moment. That's it. That's what it is. The NCLEX might have said not yet, but it didn't say never, right? And that's what you have to understand. You got to keep going. You got to keep believing. You got to keep preparing. And because when your time comes, and it will come, it's going to be worth every single tear. It's going to be worth every Uber ride, every lonely night, and every ounce of effort that you put in. This podcast is not about me, but I'm living proof. This podcast, this conversation is about you. And if this episode happened to cross your path, share it with someone who needs it. And I'm telling you, you don't have to be too proud. It happens to everyone. It will continue to happen to people. Every single cohort that comes year after year after year after year has a certain percentage of people that do not pass on the first try or the second try or the third try. It happens. And as always, stay grounded in your purpose and relentless in your pursuit. Thank you so much for being here with us on another episode of Nurse Converse. I'm your host, Wali Khan, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.